Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to give ourselves a little break from the subframe project and upcoming bodywork project and jump back over to the 6.3. The block's all been painted, all cleaned, all ready for first stage, which is checking our clearances on the crank main journals. That means plastigauge, checking our rotation and everything, that nothing's binding or any problems there, and also end plate. So let me take you to the engine shop and show you my process of doing that. And at any point, please comment, guys. I'd love to hear from you if I'm doing something wrong or you got any input in any way. I'm not proud, so that'd be great. Appreciate it. So let's go in the other room and see what's going on. Okay, we're in the engine room now, and before we do anything, we've got all the caps in a row from the front to the back here. I'm going to set those aside for the moment, and I'm just going to clean off this surface with some alcohol. Make sure we start as we mean to go on. Make sure it's all clean, because you watch. See? So these are lint-free rags. And this is just isopropyl alcohol, just to clean our surface down here. First things first, we're going to clean the saddles of the caps here. Put the bolts in there. The bolts have all been cleaned and degreased at the shop, but I want to make sure that they've not picked anything up since they've been back. So just again a little alcohol. Make sure all these surfaces are clean, where the bearings are going to sit, and also the faces on this and on the block as well. So let me do that. I'll get all these nice and clean. You can see a little bit of dirt's coming off. Alright, same thing again. Just going to clean all these surfaces here. Make sure this is completely grease free. Any foreign material is out of there. I have cleaned them already, but you can see you can still pick up a little here. We don't want anything to interfere with our readings from the plastigauge. So you want to get it to the point where new bit of rag here, new cloth, and it comes out white. So just a few wipes here. I have off camera already cleaned the holes out, make sure there's no debris down in the holes. Right, this is a standard set of main bearings, crank bearings from the Classic Centre down in Long Beach, and so I've had these a little while, and I'm just going to unpack these and make sure they're all clean. Come in pairs here. This is these ones with the holes obviously go on to the actual block, because that's where the oil galley is underneath and distribute the oil. The other side doesn't have any holes, so we'll get all these unpacked. This side are for the block and these are for the caps. As I say, we've got no holes in the cap bearings. So this is obviously your center thrust bearing surface. Okay, this is what it rides on. This is an original one that came out of the engine, and we'll measure. Just remember we had a little bit of too much end play. This measures at 29. We're obviously talking millimeters now. Obviously, 29.706970. 29.69 mil from surface to surface. This is just roughly, obviously you have to mic this in to get perfect. It just gives you an idea. And the new one, 30 mil, 29.99. So I think these are 30 millimeters. What we're going to do now is we're going to clean the bearings both sides again with the old alcohol. Make sure, so we're getting good readings both sides, top and bottom. We'll clean those guys and then we'll set them in. So this is the front number 1 bearing. Those of you who are familiar with shell bearings like this, it's got this little locating tab that engages with the tab in the block. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to engage that tab, press down, even it out from both sides. And as I say, these are the ones with the holes in it. And there's a bump in the block down there. You can probably see it on camera. That is the oil gallery that runs the full length of the block, feeding oil to the bearings. So I'm going to get these in. As I say, when we're doing the plastigauge, everything has to be dry. Next one up is the center thrust bearing. Again, that has a little tab there that locates. And the final number 5. Now, I'm going to take you, I'll show you now the caps, much the same way. We'll just show you number 1 and then I'll load the others up. Now these caps are all marked. There's a number 1 here and then the marking on each of these webs all the way along, so you can't really screw this up. Now again, we've got this locking tab here, this locating tab. Set that guy in there, push down, kind of gets itself like that. Okay, and then we'll set this on the bench because I've got to put the crank in. So I'm going to load all these guys up, and this is the front one. As you can see, this is where the chain runs on the gear of the crank here. This goes at the front. So let me load these up and then I'll talk to you a little bit about the measurements. Okay, that's all those guys loaded. Now, some of you might have noticed I put these arms back on for my stand. Not only that gives a little bit more support, I feel a little more confident with these on. Also, it reorientates this back plate so I can get the crank in, because before I wasn't able, because of the way this stand is, to get the crank in. But I have test fit it and I can just about get my hand down here to lower it in safely. Okay, so I gently lay the crank in there, being very careful not to okay. I'm just going to lift and turn, so I'm out of just a smidge. There we go, just lift and turn, and then we can lay our plastigauge on these journals and torque them up to the correct settings and see what clearances we get. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little oil on the bolt threads and on the caps here so they go in without any restriction. So we're going to get a good torque reading. So let me get the plastigauge on first and then we'll oil these guys up and torque them down. So we're going to use the green one. Okay, that has our range in there. That goes to 1,000 inch to 3,000ths. On the millimeter side is 0.025 mil to 0.076 mil. So let's cut little lengths of plastigauge. Just going to lay that on that journal. Position it so it's long ways, obviously, and not over a oil a hole. And then let's do the back one here. So we're going to lubricate our caps. I'm all right there. We set our correct torque wrench setting. I'm going to do this up not fully yet because I want to get them all in, then I'll torque them all down and then we'll just remove them. And torque this up to around 20 just to hold it. And that'll do. And then I'm going to do the rest of these guys. I'll get back to you and then we'll fully torque them and then we'll remove one at a time and see what happens. Obviously without turning the crank or anything, we're going to torque all these down now. I put them all to around 20 foot-pounds. I'll work my way from the inside out. A little bit there. Going up to 57 foot-pounds. And if you think, whoa, John's splashing out, look at that snap-on torque wrench. it's my brother-in-law's, who lives in Hawaii, and he happened to leave them here. And he said I could use them anytime. So he's got this one, and then he's got a much bigger one as well, which is very nice to have. We'll make sure this is accurately done, don't we? So let's undo them all and see what we got. Let's go, well, just go in reverse order, I guess. Let's just undo those. And get it off. I'm going to get all these off, and then I will bring the camera in for you to have a look at. Final one off, and then I'll get you. It's not really showing on the main journals very much, it's more on these caps where you can really get a good measurement. It's number 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so let's use the mil scale. Okay, and let's try this. Let's try the thrust washer one. Hopefully you can see on camera here. I'm just comparing the measurement here. So that is 0.051. It's thinner than that, but it's fraction of, well, it's, I think it's anywhere around, and it's, what's nice, it's very even across, which is a nice thing. It's not, you know, so what's it, there's no taper or anything like that, which is good. For my money, that's between 0.051 and 0.070. Let's try. That one is more like 0.055, I would say. This is more like, it's a little variation, 0.055065, I would say. Yeah, I don't know whether you can see on camera here. See that one? I reckon that's a good 0.055 mil. Okay, this one, that might be a little looser, that one. That's more toward 0.070, I would say. Maybe even 0.076. That might be a little on the loose side, that one. But I'm going to check my numbers. For those of you in the inch scale, guys, we are at, that's about 3 thou, that one. That's 3 thou. This one I'd put 2.5 thou, that one. 3 thou. I'd say that's about 2.5 thou, that thread thrust. 2.5 thou, that's what I say. Now, there's a very rough rule of thumb, is around 1 thou clearance for every inch of journal. And these are getting on towards 3-inch journals on the mains and on the you know, the main bearings. And so we're around 2.5 to 3 thou. So I think we're good on that. I'll obviously double check with the figures that Pierre sent me. Let's do that while we're on camera. So these are the figures that Pierre kindly sent me. So we've got crankshaft bearing clearances for let's see, it's crankshaft and then the big end. So we're on the crankshaft obviously right now. We're going to work our way down to the 6.3, and this is obviously in the mil scale. So 0.045 to 0.065. We're around 5560. I think we're a tiny bit loose on the front one. We were more at the higher end, 0.070 or something. Maybe we're a 6.5, but I'll remeasure that one again. We're obviously on standard bearings here, excuse me, and standard journal measurements on the crank, and that they measured at 69.95. So that's why I ordered the standard bearings, you know, because the other ones, the first repair stage, I think is 69.75, and that will obviously be too tight for our crank. So let's I'm going to remeasure these, but I'm pretty happy with those, and then we're going to install the crank again, and we'll torque one at a time and check rotation. Okay, so that's the next thing before we put the rear main seal in. So let's clean these up again. I'm going to remove the crank, put just some light lubricant to make sure we can spin nicely. We're not putting assembly lube on yet because this is coming out. Right, I tell you, that's a royal pain in the ass, getting that plastigauge off. You have to kind of carefully get it off with your fingernail, and again I wiped it off with the isopropyl alcohol stuff I've got here. I'm just giving this another wipe before we reassemble again for the second time to check that everything is spinning nicely, and we'll torque up one at a time this time, and we'll spin it to make sure that there's no binding, and then that'll tell us which one's binding if it is. I don't expect it to. So mystery oil on these guys, as I say, when we're final assembly we'll be using assembly lube obviously, but this is going to get cleaned off again. Get a little oil on there. We can turn that now. Feels very nice. A little oil on the bearing surface. No binding there, feels beautiful. It's good to have the lubricant on, because you know when something's dry you could get a sticking point and then the torque wrench will jump, and so with it lubricated like that it's really nice and smooth. So again, look at that, lovely jobby. Get this guy in. As I say, the reason I'm doing this without the main seal in is that we're checking, because if we had a main seal in, you know, the drag on the main seal might kind of hide a binding action on one of these bearings, and we don't want that. Turns lovely. I think we're winning tonight. Perfect. Look at that. For those of you in the audience that are experienced engine builders, tell me what you think, because that feels completely, I can't detect any binding or anything. It turns great. So before I go tonight, let's test the end play. So we're going to throw the crank one end, and then we'll put a indicator on the end. Let me set that up, and then I'll have to look at the manual, figure out what the allowable acceptable end play is. So let's do that. Right, so we've zeroed our gauge out, and I've pushed the crank this way all the way to its stop, and then we're going to push it and see what our end play is like with these new thrust bearings in. Well, that looks pretty good. So we have got 1, 2, 3.5 thou. I'm going to have to see what that is in mil. I think that's what, 0.78 or something. So looks like a good 3.5 thou, and from memory, I'll have to look back in the video, some of you might remember, I think we're almost 9 or 10 thou when the crank came out, so that looks to be great. So we're good on that as well, but I will check. Yeah, maybe just closer to 3.5 to 4, 3.5, 3.75 thou, something like that. All right, well there you go. I think that's that'll be fine. But as I say, I will check that end play in the book. Right, now that that is all done, I'm going to leave it together right now. I'm not going to take it all apart tonight. I'll take the gauge off, and then what I do each evening, after I'm done, I bag it with a plastic bag so no dust and rubbish gets in there. So anyway, obviously next step, remove all these caps again, and I'm going to do a little bit of my research, talk to my good friend Duke in Southern California. I promised him I'd call him before I get into the rear main seal, because that is obviously very crucial to get that right. We don't want any drama with that, because wouldn't that be a drag if that leaked and we had to take it all to pieces again. So anyway, I'll do my research on that. Anyone with experience of 6.3s, rear main seal especially, I'd love to hear your input. And I think that's about it for today. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, getting back on the 6.3 project, getting away from the subframe thing. That's fully not done yet. I've still got to do the brakes, but I wanted a little change of cleaning them up tonight. So anyway, so I'm very happy with the results on that, and let's hopefully, fingers crossed, all the connecting rod clearances work out as I expect them to, and then we can start measuring after the main seal, obviously, getting our ring gaps correct, to the correct spacing on the end gaps of the rings, and put the pistons in and start assembling this lower part of the engine. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, really appreciate it. Please hit like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care, bye bye.